Hello there everyone, today's video is all about the power of compound interest, specifically reinvesting dividend income. So, when you own stocks and shares and you get a yield on those stocks and shares whilst you own them, you get a dividend. The trick is not to take it as cash, but to reinvest it back into the stock. Let me give you some example. This maths will blow your mind. So, assume £100 was invested in the UK All Share Index back in 1900. Now, how has it performed over 121 years to the present date? Well, that same £100, if dividend reinvestment had applied, would have resulted in a pot worth 2.9 million. Can you imagine that? £100 invested 121 years ago at the reinvested dividend income reinvested, the compound annual growth rate 8.9%. That's what it would have been had you reinvested the dividend income, resulting in 2.9 million today. It's incredible. Now, what if the same £100 was invested, but the dividends weren't reinvested back in the pot? Well, the compound annual growth rate drops to 4.2%. So from 8.9% to 4.2%. You may say, oh, that's still a pretty decent yield, 4.2%, but not when you look at the actual numbers. That pot would have been worth 15,000 in 2021. So had you not have reinvested the dividend on that original £100 and continued not to reinvest the dividends, you'll have 15 grand in the pot, where you'd have 2.9 million if you'd have reinvested the dividends. Drop of 2.89 million. It's incredible. So that is the power of compounding, of reinvesting the dividends. So the simple takeaway from this video is, when you get a choice, which you always do, when you're investing on your platforms with Hargreaves Lansdown or AJ Bell or wherever it is, and it says, tick this box if you want to reinvest your dividends, for goodness sake, say yes. Say yes. Don't take the dividends as cash. Get them back, ploughed back into the pot, and this is what happens. Now, yes, no one's got a 121-year investment horizon. Most people start in their 20s, cash in their 60s, and pensions. You've got 40 years possibly. But even so, this illustrates the point, the magnitude of difference between reinvesting the dividends or not reinvesting the dividends. So just as a note at the end there, if you reinvest the dividends, you still are subject to tax on them as if you had have received them as cash. However, and I've done the video on this just yesterday in terms of the wrapper that you would choose to hold these stocks and shares in, why would you have them in your own individual name when you could have them in a SIP, i.e. a pension, or an ISA? So if you have your stocks and shares in a SIP or an ISA, there's no tax anyway. So just a little side note there. Yes, you would still declare and pay any tax thereon on dividends even though you reinvested, which of course could result in what we call a dry tax charge because you haven't got the funds to pay the tax because the funds have been reinvested. But the point is, the vast majority of people, I would suggest, either are or should be investing these stocks and shares in SIPs or ISAs where tax is an irrelevance anyway. So that's just an overview there on the power of compounding, the power of reinvesting those dividends on your stocks and shares portfolio. So if you like this video, please do subscribe right about there, and I'll see you soon.